So this Women's Month, there's been a lot of excitement. And in fact, what has been trending is women changing the game. And that's because Bright Rock has come up with this fantastic idea of bringing you really inspirational interviews and stories about some of these standout South African female sporting icons. Today, we're doing it once again, celebrating and hearing the life journey of none other than the Spar Proteas captain, Bongi Msomi. And let me tell you something, I'm extra excited about this one. And I know Bongi will love it as well because, little known fact, I used to play netball back in high school, yes, as short as I am. And I used to be a wing attack. Hi, Bongi.
Awesome. Thanks, sis. Thanks, everyone. Happy Women's Month. Quite excited to hear you played wing attack. Look at us, the wing attack, the short ones.
First things first, netball. Tell us where this love for the sport began and how you got into it.
So I went to watch one of my neighborhood friends in my high school, playing the sports. They were quite good. Then this one day was a Saturday and I was sitting out, 13 of the girls were training. Then from there, obviously, they were one player short because you need 14 for a full netball match. Then one of them just looked at the coach and said, when it was game time, maybe just put Bongi in, to be a fill-in player. And at that time, I remember I literally giggled because I knew I couldn't really play the sports, which was quite, funny at that stage. I'm sure most of them were thinking, what the hell is she going to do? But anyway, up to now, I have to say, it's been such a fantastic journey. I come from a township at Hammersdale, and ever since today, even when I go back home, it's like everyone looks at me like this big, respectable person. And I honestly think it's from the sport that everyone looks at. Probably most people looks at and think it's just netball. And to me, it's completely changed my life. Actually becoming, one of the players that were called, professional players up to now, currently netball captain, Spar Proteas captain. I think it's all just turned out to be so fantastic. I even work at a netball space now as a netball manager and coach at the University of Johannesburg. So it all turned out to be, netball and Bongi are just in sync, and it can't go anywhere. We can't go any other way rather than just that.
When you were starting out, did you get the support that you needed? Was your journey one that was understood by your parents, by your siblings?
That's quite interesting because, to be honest, I come from a very traditional family. In my, environment, in my township, my dad was quite very respected. He was what we call Induna in our space, which is probably one of the leaders. So
they're like the chief.
Yes, the chief. So him being one of those, it was more of at home will be very big in traditional stuff, but sport wasn't really big. So for me to having to now start thinking, okay, now because I've introduced myself into netball, or netball introduced itself to me, now I have to follow this journey, but no one really understands it at home. So then it went on. I really had such a fantastic coach until today. Mr. Mwabe from Lutai High School, which was my high school, is still my mentor. Even now, he says to me, he just saw something special from someone who actually didn't know anything about sport, but he thought I can be something. And it turned out actually I can be something. So I always constantly remember, worried about there's no way I'm going to do something that's going to disappoint him, my coach now, because obviously dad was no more. But purely, if I can be honest, it was his support that took me from nowhere. Financially, netball skill-wise, parental part of it, mentoring, it all came from him. I have to thank, obviously, my mom and also just my coach for being, the man he was from that day up to now.
Tell us about when you realized that you could pursue netball as a full-time career.
In all fairness, I started playing netball very late. I was 16 years old already. So all the netball journey, the highlights, the achievements happened very quickly. But until I got to SA under 21s, I kept taking the side, but it already still didn't feel like, I'm capable of something, like I'm really good at what I'm doing. There was nothing of that sort. Then when I got selected to represent the Spar Proteas in 2011 at World Cup, which was in Singapore, I think from there it was there was more of a mindset changer. And for me, that was really big because at that time already I had finished matric. And I was already at a space where I was working, and that used to be big. So getting into a netball space where I know there's an allowance that I can get as well, more on top of actually now starting to enjoy the netball itself, it never felt like I'm working, but I also knew I can get some cash out of it. And being able to do that, I could always come home, with something. And that made me realize that I actually love the sports, because I'm a very big person of going back and helping wherever I can, which then I started thinking I'm going to work, at a netball space. And eventually it all happened like that. And the more you start realizing your capabilities and you gain confidence, you love actually what you do, because that's your comfort zone. That's where you feel respected. That's where you feel heard. So that's what netball gave to me, from a talented girl who came into a netball space. But it also gave me, some sense of I can be an adult. When I come back home, I can look after people. I can be as supportive as I can be. And also my journey had so much people playing their role in supporting me. So I always want to give that back.
It's interesting when you say that at age 16, you started playing at a very late age. But look at how you blossomed. Look at how you bloomed. And you're showing us once again that it's never too late to pursue a dream or to start a new life course. Never too late, yes?
Oh, most definitely. And in saying this, like most people who look at me, as obviously I'm one of the shortest players, even international at international level. And for me, that also just tells, all the netball girls or any sports player or athletes out there that sometimes we really listen to all the things that are being said to us or negativity coming towards us, and we want to pull back and leave whatever that we could possibly be best at. And I'm really glad I stood strong, and I actually did all the work in wanting to be a netball player. So netball actually made me realize it doesn't matter the age you start, what you want to start. It doesn't matter the size of your body. It doesn't matter your skin color. If you actually have that will that you want to achieve something, you can. And sometimes it sounds like you're just saying because you're there already. And I like saying these things because that's my journey. That's how I went through it.
Yeah, I want you to talk to us about that. Just the amount of hard work that you need to put in, the amount of dedication that it takes, with so much that's against you. Like you said, you might not have been the typical netball player if you look at your height. So you didn't tick some of those boxes. But despite that, because you excelled in other areas and you worked extra hard, that's how you actually got to where you are ultimately now, top of the world. Tell us about the areas where you really had to be strong in order to make it.
Oh, it's definitely not easy. And I can think of myself and the mere fact that netball shoes, if you can start there, are quite expensive. And I knew at home that there was no way I could ask my mom to constantly buy me netball shoes. There's 8 of us more for her to look after. So maybe I think I've just grown to be, even growing up, I've always been very thoughtful of other people around me as well. Something can't be just about me, what's about the others as well. So I think from there, having to think about that part, that was quite hard, because then I had to rely on someone, which is my coach at this stage, not even related to me, only knew him from the sport, obviously in school because he was my teacher, to constantly support a child that he had nothing to do with.
Tell us about the Bongi Msomi netball project, what that's about and what inspired that.
Oh, that's actually quite an exciting part of my netball journey. I went to play netball overseas. I played in England for 3 seasons there. Then I played in Australia, which is the highest netball league in the world. I think every netball player wants to play there one day. So I met this one Australian netball player. She used to be one of the Australian netball players, and she had her own netball clinics that she would do. She said, I wanted to come to one of my netball clinics and just speak to the girls. So I knew I could do that, but now we're in Australia and I'm thinking to myself, this is actually big, because I don't know how they're going to take it. I don't know how, the perception is going to be after I've shared my story. Every time the faces of the girls, when I share my story, the questions they ask, it actually made me realize I love netball, but I love more the interactions of the netball courts. I think what I can be to other people was probably more what I wanted to be in the netball space rather than anything. And when I came back, I thought of that, but I was like, I'm not sure if I'm ready. So that year, towards the end of the year, I thought I'm just going to do a netball clinic again, just to share what I've learned in Australia. So at first it was just Bongi Msomi netball. Then I realized I don't want it to be just about netball. I want it to be about everything. If an athlete, speak with Bongi, or they want Bongi to help wherever she can, it doesn't matter if they're netball players or not. I want them to feel like they're part of being assisted through my netball journey, which then I thought I'm going to call it a Bongi Msomi Legacy Project, which now I run netball clinics. I do talks if I need to. I go as a guest speaker in some of the, let's say people have like netball functions. So it's really quite exciting to see how many people can just want Bongi to come and see them. At one stage, I always wanted to have my own netball academy where I can mentor the girls, having to groom talent and mentor it and see how far they can go, probably to a national space, and actually have constant competition for them, because I think sometimes they want to play the sport, but there's nowhere to compete, there's nowhere to play, there's no kits. So I want to give that setup so they see something in netball until they actually become something. So I'm hoping it will happen one day.
Man, we're going to be looking out for that without a doubt. You talk about, so many wins, in your career, and how netball has contributed to a positive change in your life. It just completely changed your life and just given you so many opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have had if it was not for netball. Another big win and another big victory is the fact that you're the first South African female signed by Rock Nation. How do you feel about that?
Look at that. Now let's talk some honesty. Yeah, I would have never thought in my life that something like that would happen. And I remember after a meeting I had with them where they said, take your time. Even if you come back next year, we still want you to be part of us. That day I signed, because I had the sense of, I am respected here. My value is important. My understanding of this is also important to them. It's not like they just want me to sign because of who they are. They're these big people. I must just join them. And up to now, I have to say I'm really grateful for the respect they've shown me. That the whole team actually sees a different Bongi than anything else. So I'm really grateful for that. And it's just gives me that idea that it's paving way, not just for Bongi, but for so many girls out there that probably see sports, especially for women, not as where it should be. It can also create these kind of opportunities, I guess.
Bongi, what would you say was one of your biggest or toughest challenges or failures and that you encountered throughout your life, your career? And how did you overcome that?
Big one. There's so many. Like, I've played netball obviously for years now, so there's so many challenges. But the most exciting one, when I look back at it, is when
exciting challenge.
It's quite exciting, and I look at challenges like that because I always say in sports, if you don't see challenges as something that should happen, then you get stuck really quickly and you can just easily give up. So I got to a point where one of the years I wasn't really as the best that I wanted to be, even on the court, like mostly on the courts. Like, I would know I put in the work, and sometimes the performance doesn't come. And that year, if I remember correctly, probably 2 years ago, I remember receiving so many critical messages about, oh, you're not doing well, you probably need to retire, so many negative things coming along. And in my head, I was like, I've done so much, without all these people being in front of my face. I'm going to show them, I'm going to do it again. So funny enough, then in actually this year in March, we played a series against Uganda and Namibia. And this year, I was the best mid-court. So I think of my career again, and I'm like, I'm already 33 years old. I can still be the best mid-court player. And I look back 2 years ago where I was in doubts, because even for my work that I used to go, I had a job where I actually had to decide to either go and play netball in England or carry on with my work, because my job actually thought you probably need to retire at this point. I said no. So all of that sinking in, I'm like, I made the right decision, because where I am now, fully, I have a job in at UJ that I really enjoy. I'm still playing netball at national level. I'm still leading the country, and I'm enjoying my netball. I feel like I'm now more playing freely, knowing I don't need money from netball. I don't need any other support. I'm doing it because I love it, because I have every other support, on the side, which is really best. In saying this, at a national or elite level players get so many critics. And I've seen it even on social media. I've seen it everywhere. And sometimes I always say to my head when I see it happening to someone else, if you bounce back from that and you become the best version of yourself, you're going to be so proud of yourself, because I've done it. So I think that's, for me, was probably one of my best challenges, because it took me from a different space where I was to being someone else.
I love that. I really, really love that. A positive outlook at all times. Before we say goodbye, Bongi, you've achieved so much. What would you say is your biggest goal still that you're looking to achieve in your career or in your personal life?
Let's go career. Biggest one would be, obviously, Netball South Africa is hosting a World Cup in Cape Town.
That's right, 2023.
So if you see a Bongi training hard, or, trying to be the best netball player she can be, I want to play that.
Bongi, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, for taking the time along with Bright Rock to continue to inspire so many people. You're most certainly one of our rock stars, one of our icons, and enjoy the rest of Women's Month.
Thank you so much. And thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for inviting me as well.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. I know that you loved it just as much, if not more, than I did. A really inspirational story. So we'll see you next time when we do it once again, thanks to Bright Rock, women that are changing the game. Till then, remember to play the bounce, play the moment, and love change.